Story 1. A single deliberate splash ripped through the dead of night silence, followed by slow, confident strokes cutting across the deep end. Someone had just jumped into my pool, turning the safety of my own home into a silent, stalking nightmare. I still live with my parents in a peaceful, tree-lined neighborhood on the outskirts of Princeton, New Jersey, close enough to the city for convenience, far enough for that suburban quiet we all crave. The house sits on a generous lot, front yard neatly manicured, but the real prize is the backyard. There's a sparkling in-ground pool with underwater lights that turn the water electric blue at night, a small pool house with changing rooms and a mini fridge, and beyond that, a thick wall of woods that stretches back at least 3/4 of a mile before hitting anyone else's property. No public trails cut through it, no shortcuts. Our land feels like a private kingdom, especially when the family's away. That weekend, my parents had driven up to visit relatives in upstate New York, leaving me the house for the first time in months. Freedom tasted sweet. I decided to throw a laid-back Saturday night hangout. Good music, cold drinks, people splashing around, maybe some late-night card games by the fire pit. Nothing wild, just 25 or so friends from college in the old neighborhood. I spent the afternoon setting everything up alone. Clouds hung low and gray, but the forecast promised they'd clear by evening. I dragged folding tables across the patio for beer pong and snacks, strung fairy lights along the fence, tested the Bluetooth speaker. The air smelled of cut grass and chlorine. While positioning the last table near the pool's edge, a harsh, wet cough echoed from the woods. Not a polite throat clear, more like someone forcing phlegm loose, deep and deliberate. Male, close, too close. The sound bounced off the trees and landed right in my chest. I froze, hands still gripping the table legs, every muscle locked. The leaves weren't rustling, no breeze to carry the noise farther. Whoever made it was standing just inside the tree line, probably 30 feet away at most. Near enough to watch me struggle with the setup, near enough to see exactly how alone I was. My mouth went dry. I scanned the dark wall of trunks and underbrush, heart thudding against my ribs. "Hello?" My voice sounded thin, childish even to me. No answer, no movement, no snapping twig, no retreating footsteps. Just silence so thick it pressed against my eardrums. The longer I stood there staring, the worse the feeling grew. Eyes on me, unblinking, patient. Like the cough had been a test, and I'd passed by noticing. Paranoia bloomed hot in my stomach. I abandoned the table half set, gathered the remaining boxes, and hurried inside, locking the sliding door behind me with more force than necessary. I texted my best friend Ryan to come over early. "Need help finishing setup," I wrote. Nothing about the cough. I didn't want to sound crazy before the party even started. Ryan showed up around 6 with a cooler of IPAs and a playlist ready to go. We finished decorating together, laughing off my jumpiness as pre-party nerves. By 7, the first guests arrived, then 8, then a steady stream until the backyard thrummed with voices, laughter, and bass-heavy music. Someone cannonballed into the pool, others lounged on floats. The woods, which had felt predatory earlier, now seemed harmless. Distant background noise swallowed by 25 people having fun. Still, every so often, my eyes flicked toward the tree line. Habit now. The cough replayed in my head like a bad loop. Around midnight, things wound down. By 1, everyone had trickled out, hugging goodbye, promising to text when they got home safe. I stood on the patio alone, surveying the wreckage. Empty cans, soggy towels, a few forgotten phone chargers. Exhaustion hit hard. I decided cleanup could wait till morning. I walked one slow lap around the pool, checking that no one had left anything important behind the pool house, peering once more into the black wall of trees. Nothing moved. The water lay mirror still, reflecting the fairy lights in perfect pinpricks. I locked the sliding door, double-checked the latch, turned off the outdoor lights and headed upstairs. In bed, I scrolled mindlessly for half an hour, letting the day's adrenaline fade. Sleep was just starting to pull me under when it came. A loud, unmistakable splash. Not a dropped phone or a branch falling in. A full-body plunge into the deep end, followed immediately by strong, even strokes. Freestyle, purposeful, someone swimming laps like they own the place. My eyes snapped open. Adrenaline flooded back tenfold. I lay rigid, listening. Another length, turn, push off. Definitely human. My first panicked thought, one of my friends pulled a prank, hiding until everyone left. But I'd said goodnight to every single person. I knew their faces, their laughs. This wasn't them. Keeping lights off so I wouldn't silhouette myself, I crept to the bedroom window overlooking the yard. Moonlight and the faint glow from the pool lights illuminated the scene. A man, tall, broad-shouldered, completely unfamiliar, glided from one end to the other with calm, practiced strokes. Water streamed off his dark hair each time he turned his head to breathe. He wasn't frantic or drunk. He was comfortable, like this was routine. I cracked the window. "Hey, who the hell are you?" My voice cracked on the last word. He stopped mid-stroke, slowly lifted his head. Even from 2 stories up, I could feel the weight of his stare. Direct, unhurried, no trace of surprise or guilt. He treaded water for a long second, then began moving toward the shallow end. When he climbed out, water sheeted off him in rivers. He stood dripping on the coping tiles, facing the house, arms loose at his sides. I waited for him to bolt. Instead, he started walking, fast, straight, no hesitation, toward the sliding glass doors. Panic clawed up my throat. I'd locked them. I knew I had. But downstairs, I heard the unmistakable rasp of the door sliding open, then closed again with a soft thud. I sprinted to my bedroom door, fumbled the lock shut. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the knob. Phone in hand, I texted Ryan, "Did anyone stay behind?" But didn't wait for a reply. Instead, I dialed 911, whispering my address. "There's someone in my house. He just came in through the back door. He was in the pool." Wet footsteps started downstairs, slow, deliberate, each one leaving a faint sucking sound as bare feet peeled off hardwood. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't ransacking rooms. He was coming straight for the stairs. Each creak on the risers felt like a countdown. He reached the hallway, stopped right outside my door. I could hear water dripping, plink, plink onto the floorboards. Then the knob turned. Once, twice, harder the third time, rattling the whole frame. A long, agonizing pause. 3 slow knocks. I pressed the phone to my mouth. "I'm on with the police right now. They're coming. Leave." Another beat of silence. Then a low, calm voice, adult, maybe mid-30s, eerily composed. "It's me. Just open the door." My blood turned to ice. "I don't know you. Get the hell out of my house." 5 seconds. 10. Then retreating footsteps, quicker now, down the hall, down the stairs. The front door opened and slammed. I didn't move until red and blue lights flashed through the curtains. Officers swept the house. The only evidence, a long, glistening trail of pool water from the back door, up the stairs, stopping at my bedroom threshold. No footprints outside, no forced entry. The door had somehow been unlocked or relocked without a sound. I messaged every guest from the party. No one stayed behind. No one saw a stranger. That cough in the woods that afternoon, I'm convinced it was him, watching, waiting for the right moment to slip in during the chaos of comings and goings. I still don't know why he was there, what he wanted. What would have happened if I'd opened that door, sleepy and trusting? The thought keeps me awake some nights, staring at the ceiling, listening for splashes that never come. Story 2. As the middle child in a family of 3 boys, I always felt like the odd one out. My older brother Mike climbed all the way to the top rank in the scouting program, earning badges and respect that made my parents beam with pride. My younger brother Tim dabbled in it for a bit during his early teens, but eventually lost interest. Strangely though, Mom and Dad never pushed me to join when I was growing up in our quiet suburb outside Austin, Texas. Looking back, it baffles me because I was green with envy, especially when I'd tag along to those thrilling Pinewood Derby races or award ceremonies, watching Mike soak up the glory. What stung the most was missing out on the overnight adventures, the troop's excursions into the wild, pitching tents under the stars for entire weekends. I'd ridden along a couple of times, witnessing the excitement of unpacking gear, building fires, and sharing stories around the flames. But as the younger sibling and an outsider to the group, I wasn't permitted to stay. Instead, I'd head back home with my folks, my imagination running wild with what I was missing. That jealousy peaked when I'd see Mike prepping for his trips. He'd bring home a tent from the troop and practice assembling it right in our expansive backyard. Even at 8 years old, the idea hit me like a bolt of lightning. Why not recreate the magic ourselves? We'd erect the tent on our own turf and spend the night under its canvas, mimicking the real deal. To my childish excitement, it felt like the ultimate adventure, especially since our yard wasn't your typical fenced-in plot. In our neighborhood, properties blended seamlessly into one another, divided only by thick clusters of oaks and underbrush, giving it a rugged wilderness vibe that amplified the thrill. Our yard stretched out endlessly, complete with a stone ring fire ring that my parents enthusiastically ignited for us, letting the flames dance and crackle to enhance the authenticity. Tim joined in for the marshmallow toasting, his little face glowing in the firelight. But at just 5 years old, he wasn't ready for an overnight. Mom and Dad wisely scooped him up as dusk deepened, ushering him indoors while instructing Mike and me to wind down for bed. Once zipped inside, we burrowed into our sleeping bags, pulling out our portable game devices, the latest craze back then. I dove into a classic platformer, jumping through levels with pixelated heroes, but exhaustion soon crept in. I rolled onto my side, staring at the tense nylon walls, my body aching from the unfamiliar hardness of the ground. Sleep evaded me for what felt like hours. The bag constricted like a cocoon, and every rustle of leaves outside amplified my restlessness. My mind wandered to ghost stories I'd heard, mixing excitement with a twinge of unease. But eventually fatigue won, pulling me into a fitful slumber. Waking disoriented in the pitch-black confines, I blinked away confusion, piecing together the camping setup. The tent felt emptier somehow. Glancing over, I saw Mike's bag crumpled and vacant. The zipper remained sealed shut. Panic flickered. Maybe he'd slipped inside the house, unable to sleep on the lumpy earth. Alone now, a wave of fear crashed over me, my heart pounding like a drum in the silence. I couldn't stay there solo. The darkness pressed in, whispering doubts. Trembling, I inched toward the entrance, unzipping it just enough for a cautious glance. The yard lay bathed in pale moonlight, shadows twisting among the trees. But clarity shattered as my eyes locked on a figure hunched by the dying embers of the fire ring. Not Mike. This was a full-grown stranger, his silhouette broad and imposing, facing directly toward me. Terror gripped my throat. I yanked the zipper closed, scrambling back into my bag, curling into a ball as if the thin fabric could shield me from whatever lurked outside. My thoughts raced in a whirlwind of dread. Who was he? Why here, in our secluded yard? I longed to shout for Dad, but certainty held me back. It wasn't him. The man's unfamiliar outline, The way he sat motionless, unacknowledged my peak. It all screamed wrongness. A creak from the chair by the fire sent chills down my spine. I prayed he hadn't risen. But then, a shadow loomed against the tent wall, eclipsing the faint glow, positioning him mere inches away. Frozen in place, I willed invisibility, my breath shallow and ragged. The zipper's slow drag echoed like thunder, parting just a fraction. Instinct betrayed me. I peeked, spotting that horrifying eye pressed to the gap, its white sclera gleaming in the gloom. Paralyzed, I watched it narrow, as if in amusement, a silent grin I couldn't see but felt in my bones. Another inch of zipper, and the dam broke. I screamed, thrashing wildly, collapsing the tent poles in my frenzy. Footsteps thundered away into the night as our porch light flared to life. Dad exploded from the house, bellowing into the darkness, his voice a beacon of safety. By the time he reached me, the intruder had vanished into the brush. The police arrived soon after, their flashlights sweeping the yard, but the night yielded no clues. I clung to Mom in their bed that night, sobs racking my small frame, the trauma etching deep scars. Weeks blurred into a fragile normalcy, but fate twisted the knife one afternoon at my private academy. During a brief playground break on the asphalt yard, bordered by a chain-link fence overlooking the busy street, we played a chaotic tag game. Racing to the fence for safety, laughter filling the air, a voice pierced through, "Hey, kid!" Turning, I faced a man on the sidewalk, casually asking for directions to some obscure spot. Unease prickled. We were drilled never to engage outsiders. "I don't know," I muttered, backing away. But then, "You're Alex, aren't you?" My world tilted, blood draining from my face, his tone oily and knowing. Denying it instinctively, I watched his lips curl into a smirk. "Don't you remember me?" That was it. I bolted to the supervisors, pointing frantically, but he'd melted into the crowd. A classmate corroborated, sending the school into lockdown. My parents, faces etched with horror, whisked me home early, their worry palpable in every hug. The suburb felt tainted, our haven invaded. Months of vigilant oversight followed. Shadows of what-ifs haunting me. What if he'd succeeded that night? The thought of him preying on others twists my gut even now. A reminder of vulnerability in the most familiar places. Story 3. Picture this. Every window in a sprawling mansion suddenly filled with motionless figures, their frozen smiles locking eyes with you, turning a simple errand into a heart-stopping nightmare. Raised in the cozy confines of Burlington, Vermont, I cherished the small-town charm until I struck out on my own at 22, snagging a modest home about 40 miles inland. Furnishing it became an adventure, blending hand-me-downs from family and friends with bargains hunted on online swap sites. My rugged Jeep made hauling a breeze, and one evening, scrolling through a local buy-and-sell app, a post jumped out. A plush, beige, L-shaped sofa in mint condition and a high-end Trek trail bike. Perfect. I needed seating for my living room and something to tackle the nearby wooded paths for workouts. The listing resembled a virtual garage sale, packed with odds and ends, but those two items hooked me. Messaging the seller, I found him curt yet accommodating, slashing the price without fuss and slotting me in for a late afternoon pickup. Vermont's lingering summer daylight promised I'd arrive with time to spare, though the sofa's bulk might demand multiple runs. The address led to a lakeside retreat, and a quick map peek confirmed a winding path off the main road to a vast estate hugging Lake Champlain's edge. The property screamed wealth, a grand structure perched on a bluff, backyard plummeting to the water below. Why sell so cheap? Maybe downsizing, I mused, envy stirring as I imagined the views. The drive unfolded through increasingly upscale enclaves, Forest flanking the route until I veered onto the gravel lane. It snaked upward, emerging into a sun-dappled meadow crowned by the house. Parking beside a battered old station wagon that clashed with the opulence. I approached the entrance only to spot a sticky note. Bell out of order. Use side entrance. Odd, but I complied, texting my arrival as I circled the building. Windows stared back blankly, curtains drawn tight. The side yard opened to a breathtaking panorama of the lake, waves lapping far below. Knocking on the French doors yielded silence. No response to my follow-ups. Settling on a patio lounger, I absorbed the serenity, the sun dipping toward the horizon in a blaze of oranges and pinks. My mind drifting to aspirations of such luxury. Impatience grew. No replies. Venturing to the bluff's edge for a snapshot, the vista mesmerized, wind whispering through the grass. But returning, horror struck. Every curtain now flung wide, a silhouette rigid in each frame, gazing outward. My pulse thundered. Prank? Mannequins? Edging nearer, their identical grins confirmed the worst. Human, unnaturally still, radiating malice. Nope, that was my cue. Jogging back, I glimpsed another figure at a side window, smile unwavering. Heart in my throat, I dove into the Jeep, reversing blindly, stealing one glance. The front door ajar, a man on the stoop, hands pocketed, watching impassively. Flooring it down the lane, questions swirled. What if I'd entered? Their intent chilled me, perhaps luring me deeper for some sinister purpose. Skidding into a neighboring drive, I pounded on the door. An older gent, whom I'll call Dave, listened wide-eyed, insisting his pal Robert, the owner, was away and no joker. Phoning Robert, the confusion escalated. No listing, no visitors expected. Detailing the ad, the car, the figures, Robert's voice turned grave. He was out of state, house vacant. We exchanged contacts, police would probe. Homebound exhaustion mingled with dread. Robert called later. The post vanished, profile scrubbed. Cops found doors unlatched, curtains redrawn, no thefts, sedan gone. Those smiling sentinels haunted my dreams. What fate awaited had I lingered? Gratitude for escape overshadowed the lost deals, a stark lesson in online perils.